it's another side that like wants to take more, and wants to go that one more round. Because like going that one more round when you don't think you can, that's what makes all the difference in your life. You know what I mean?
Welcome to another episode of One More Round, the Rocky Series podcast. This is episode 7 as we continue our Rocky journey. We're all back together again. Kyle, welcome back from your vacation.
Thank you. It's good to be back from my long exile.
Katie and I did an okay job holding down the fort. There was a couple times, though I can't remember the exact topic, but there's a couple times that something came up. I was like, I wish Kyle was here. It was like a boxing thing or something. Remember, I don't know what the subject was, Katie, but I recall.
I can't remember.
I just remember thinking, this is when Kyle comes in handy.
Among other things.
Well, that's, of course, Kyle comes in handy.
Yeah, my primary role is just raw sexual energy to the podcast. But, you know, sometimes some knowledge stuff comes in handy, too.
Katie, how are you doing today?
I'm good. As I was just mentioning, I stayed out too late last night, so the coffee is coming in handy.
Okay. So what I have in my hands here is the Rocky trivia book, and this was I made a little YouTube video on it. So there's a few people listening to this episode who already know what I'm talking about. So just bear with me because quite frankly, there's more listeners of the podcast than who watch my stupid YouTube channel. This book is called the Rocky Trivia Book, and it was put together by a young gentleman named Rocco. Now, I wanted to get the proper pronunciation of this last name. Maybe one of you guys can get the last name pronunciation. It's M-U-S-C...
Muscadere? Muscadere.
So bad with Italian stuff.
So,
Muscadere is how I would guess.
Okay, so I'm going to put the link, of course. I think I'm going to do it every episode on our show notes. The link to the book, because we're going to use this book on every episode. What we're going to do is we're going to ask 5 questions, and I'm going to ask them to you guys. Play along at home, please, by all means. You can write the answers on a little piece of paper, and at the end of the episode, we are going to reveal the answers. And some of them are, no offense to Rocco, some of them are very easy, but already there's a couple like I don't know the answer. So what we'll do is we'll see between us 3 hosts, who got the right answer. We can keep score if you'd like, and at the end of the season, we'll see who the winner is or what have you. This is a fun little way to play along. But what's cool about this book? So Rocco put this together when he's 11 years old.
That's amazing, Rocco. Love that you're a Rocky fan already.
Wow, that's impressive.
And what's also cool is his father, Enzo, is the one that, of course, showed him the Rocky series, which just goes without saying, but I want to read an email. So I put that video on YouTube. I unboxed my Rocky trivia book and I read it out loud. I actually found out as I read it out loud, like my reaction to the book, that it was done by a young child. No offense, Rocco, 11's young. And I'm like, that's crazy. Like, isn't that so cool? He did this and he put this on Amazon and what have you. So this is from his father to me. He goes, Ryan, first I'd like to say thank you for the unboxing video with the Rocky trivia book. It was greatly appreciated. I think this will be an exciting addition to the already great job the team is doing with One More Round podcast. I would like to connect the dots for you to clear up any confusion. I have been a day 1 subscriber on your original podcast, Going the Distance. And we have talked actually via Twitter many times over the years because my name there is E.M. King. And I'm like, because, people. He's a very faithful contributor to Twitter. But I've never known, people don't tell me the real life names or what have you. I guess I've doxed him now. It's Enzo, the father of Rocco. But that's great. He goes, I'm Rocco's father. And yes, he was 100% named after Rocky.
That's amazing.
I'm just amazed that an 11-year-old writes a book. I'm thinking back to when I was 11, having to write a short story or something, and now it was like, respect.
Absolutely.
Indeed.
Yeah, you don't want to know what I was doing at 11s.
Probably the same thing I was doing.
Enzo goes on to say that, I forgot we have Rocco in the channel here. His dad goes on to say that I sent an email that you and Kyle read on Going the Distance a few years ago. Goes, keep up the amazing job on One More Round. You guys are doing great. Sorry for the long email. That was not long at all. Were you not there when we Had to break up Seiko's email in 3 parts.
Dissertation.
Oh, so he says here, Rocco started the Rambo book. And he says, and he says he needs to get it done before we finish season 1 of the Rambo podcast. There you go. Thank you, Enzo. There you go. Okay.
That's amazing, because weren't you inquiring, Ryan, if he had seen the Rambo movies because of his young age?
That's right. That's right. So, that's right. Thank you, Kate. He's responding to the YouTube video. Yeah. So that's right. Get on that Rambo. That's the perfect age. 12. Come on, 12. That's great. Great violence, Rocco. Enjoy the violence, my friend. It's Rambo violence, so it's okay. One more email. This is from Donald. He's in our Discord right now. So if you haven't already, folks, join our Discord. It's a lot of fun. We got Rocco, the author of the Rocky Trivia book, in our Discord, listening to us live right now as we record. We've got Donald. We've got Louise. And it's great because you get to join the chat, interact with us as we record. Fun. I think it's great. But Donald, he sent us an email. And if you want this link, dear listeners, just send us an email to onemoreroundrockypodcast@gmail.com. And the email is in our show description if you need to go see it. Donald sent us an email saying that he has been given permission to share a link to a Google Drive. And he says here, Dear Ryan, Kyle, and Katie, I'm happy to report that a second, and you could almost say final, Rocky IV fan edit now exists. A fan editor known only as Zach B, I think he might be following me on Twitter, has created what he calls the Rocky IV The Complete Cut. This new cut clocks in at 1 hour, 54 minutes. With the editor's permission, he's included the Google Drive link for everyone to enjoy. Appropriately, this makes 4 different cuts of Rocky IV. Great news for fans, Donald. So I have that link. Anyone that wants the link, send me an email.
So it's a combination of the different cuts, and the 2-hour mark, that's perfect for me. I would like a 2-hour Rocky IV.
I think it'd be kind of fun to watch. I did watch a little bit of it when I got the link. I just haven't had a chance to sit down and watch the whole thing. But what they've done is they've combined the old Rocky IV. So you got the robot, you got the new Apollo, so everything's there. So that's what we kind of talked about. It should have been at the very beginning. Everything's there. Nothing's deleted. Everything's in there.
Looking forward to it.
In my absence, did either one of you do the bum count?
We totally forgot about it. Or I did anyway.
What was the scene? I don't think...
The bar.
There was no bum.
They were in the... No? Okay.
Well, okay, listeners, anyone who's listening, if you care to audit that episode, and let me know if there's any... I'm going to put 0 for now. But if you caught any bums that we missed, please let me know, or let Ryan know via email, and I will tabulate it here.
Yes, thank you for that reminder. Yes. Okay, so speaking of tabulations, I'm ready to go here with the Rocky questions. Number 1. So write it down. No class answers. Write this down. Be honest with yourself. At the end of the episode, we'll read the answers. Okay.
We need to write this down. Okay.
Well,
all right.
Or just be honest. Okay.
Okay.
So no class answers. Nobody say anything in Discord. Number 1. Who says you want the bird? Go out in the alley and eat the bird. Okay, so there you go. That might be a softball. I think that might be a softball. But they get harder. Trust me, guys. They get harder.
We have to ease into this.
He's building the confidence.
Okay.
Maybe a false sense of confidence.
All right. Number 2. What does Rocky answer back when Adrian asks him why he wants to fight? That's a great question. I love that. Great scene in the movie. Number 3. All right, here we go. Now we're going to see, boy, he doesn't hold up. It amps up pretty quickly. What is the name of the fighter who broke his hand and dropped out of the fight with Creed?
Oh.
Don't say it. Don't say it.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
You haven't got me yet, Rocco.
Okay. Number 4. Who does Rocky work for? He's trying to build our confidence again after number 3 there. And lastly, this one I actually had to kind of think about. I was like, what round did Rocky knock Apollo down in that first fight?
That's not bad.
That's a good question. I like that one.
That's a good question.
It is a good question. All right, so great questions, Rocco. I love it. Already, I'm like, some are hardballs, some are softballs thrown together, and they don't quite go in chronological order of the film, which is great. I love it. Mm-hmm. So great job, Rocco. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the episode, we'll reveal the answers, and we'll see how everyone did. Okay, so Kyle just had to step out for a moment, but we'll just start the film here, because I think we're done our housekeeping. We're ready to go. You ready?
Ready to go.
Okay, here we go. I'm not ready. Where's my play button? There we go.
Want me to take a shot? All right, shot.
Of course, just had the last episode of Rocky at the bar, and the bartender was mad about being insulted or what have you. Now, this scene here of Rocky walking outside after his visit at the bar, that's actually the first Steadicam scene of the movie.
Okay, I'm dumb. What's a Steadicams?
The Steadicam was the camera invented and first used.
Oh,
on the
yeah. Sorry.
No, that's okay. It's okay. So yeah, of course, with Rocky running up the steps, it doesn't jostle as he runs up the steps. They can track him. Yeah. So this shot here of him just walking down the alley is the first use of the Steadicam in this film, or the first time we see it being used. And you wouldn't think much of it, but him going down the alley, then him walking, that's them using a Steadicam tracking his walking. Yeah.
Okay.
No wine.
Come on, just a little. Make it money.
So I love the captions. You getting some dialogue here that I didn't always catch. Buy us some Thunderbird, man. That was from Little Marie yelling that. Kyle, do you want to Google Thunderbird alcohol and see what the content might have been or what it was? Or
I certainly can.
I wonder if it's some kind of grain alcohol. Yeah, I'm imagining a 40-ounce bottle of this like malt liquor.
It was fortified wine, most popular in the 80s and 90s. Its alcohol by volume is 17.5%. The wine is typically, I think, around 13%. I'll give or take a bit. If you're drinking to get buzzed, Thunderbird's the way to go. Because I don't know if Marie and the people on the corner here are social drinkers, so to speak. Now, it's interesting, though, because I thought those guys, I always thought those guys were trying to, like, sell Rocky wine. He's like, how about a bottle? And he's like, no wine, no wine. I always thought they had a little business there in the corner, but I guess really they're asking Rocky to buy them wine.
Mm-hmm. The age at this time was, what, 18 probably?
Well, I don't know if these are law-abiding kids, though.
Meaning that they couldn't buy it themselves. They had to get somebody to buy it for them. They're not yet 18, is my guess.
My dad used to buy underage people wine in the 70s. It was more acceptable back then. Or my dad just didn't give a shit. One or the other.
We needed people like your dad, Kyle.
Yeah, exactly.
I love how everyone just barks at Rocky. They're just like, blah, 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 blah. It's like, geez. Which I guess, they had nothing else better to do. Now, the blonde-haired kid yelling there's that one blonde-haired kid wearing the brown pants. That's actually John G. Avildsen's nephew in real life.
Really? Yeah. Look at you with all this fun fact knowledge.
Yeah, I'm so smart.
I feel like there was more of this kind of stuff back in the day. People just hanging out on a street corner. You don't see that quite as much now. Everyone's on their phones or inside or something like that. I always had a sense of apprehension if I'm walking alone, like the way Rocky is, and there's like a group of people who are bored on a street corner, because they're going to say something to you, right?
Yeah.
They're going to ask you for something or make some kind of comment towards you. There's got to be something.
Or just like a group of punks up to no good.
Yeah.
If I were the store owner, I would hate it. Maybe this was before, or it's maybe just too overwhelming that he's probably asked them to leave a bazillion times and they won't. But loitering is illegal in a lot of places. No loitering signs. Maybe they didn't have those then.
Yeah, cops don't care. It's just like they have bigger fish to fry in this.
True.
If you're in suburbia, the cops are bored. This is the highlight of their night, breaking up this. But yeah, probably the cops don't care. And then the store owner, he isn't going to move 5 or 6 teenagers who are loitering up there. So
I remember being a teenager and when loitering was a real thing, yes, especially like outside 7-Eleven, those corner stores, what have you. And they would have the no loitering sounds. And when I was younger, I thought they were misspelling littering.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
And I didn't know, what does loiter mean? And then I found out what loiter meant. And then they started playing elevator music outside of 7-Elevens to kind of discourage kids from hanging around. They play classical elevator music outside 7-Elevens, at least in my neck of the woods, to kind of we didn't want to listen to this boring music to kind of discourage kids to hang around.
When I go on business trips to different places, I'll go to Tim Hortons, which is kind of like, for you Americans, like Dunkin' Donuts.
Okay.
In Canada, homeless people always hang outside the Tim Hortons. A lot of them, in places where there's lots of homeless people, will blare annoying music outside the Tim Hortons, which, by the way, doesn't work. They just tolerate it.
Yeah, if you can tolerate being homeless, you can probably tolerate annoying music.
Yeah.
Did your brother know you're hanging out so late?
What'd you get lost?
Hey, these guys teach you to talk like that? Hey, don't you never say that.
So I love how he grabs. He actually he physically grabs little Marie. She curses him out. It's a PG movie, but we can assume in the real world of Rocky, she probably told him F off. Because she says, screw you and what have you. Did your brother, who taught you to talk like that kind of thing? So we know that she's probably cursing for real. But I love how he physically grabs her by the arm, pulls her away from the boys.
It's funny, though, those guys are mouthing him off, but you notice none of them are doing anything about it, right? Because they all know better. They know they could talk tough because they probably figured out Rocky has no interest in beating them up, but Rocky would easily tune up that entire corner of guys, and they know it.
They all probably know Gazzo and that Rocky works for Gazzo, so it's very noticeable to me now that little Marie is literally wearing pigtails. So she's like a small child.
I'd say these guys are probably 3 to 4 years older than that.
That's my guess as well.
So the actress played by Little Marie, of course, her name is Jodie Letizia. I don't know if anyone remembers, but Ruben and I, on Going the Distance, we looked up she had a webpage. She actually had a webpage. And Ruben and I read live her description on her home or her webpage. We roasted her pretty hard.
Was it an updated page, or was it thrown up once upon a time and never touched again?
Exactly. On a whim, preparing for this episode, I went back to see, I wonder if that page is still up, and it's down now.
Yeah, she probably didn't want to pay the hosting fees or the domain or whatever it is.
Maybe she heard or someone gave her a win about us. Because it's down now. You're right. But it wasn't updated even, a few years ago or 2 years ago, whenever that episode was. It wasn't updated then. You're right, but maybe the fees finally got canceled or whoever was hosting it, but it's gone now. But if I was a casting director, could they have picked a more unattractive child to play Little Marie? I'm sorry, I know she's just a kid in here, but it's just like...
They want realism, right?
Yeah,
realism
I was going to say, I like that she looks like a kid, right? 12-year-olds are typically pretty awkward looking, right? Some are more awkward looking or weirder looking than others, and I believe we see Marie as an adult in the cut scenes for Rocky V. She's around like a burning trash barrel. I'm pretty sure that actually is her.
Two things. Well, we have Rocco from the author of the Rocky Trivia book in our chat, and he's 12. Rocco, come on. Is she funny looking? Be honest. And also, Louise says here that he said that was an old-time classic episode, the one where we talked about our website. Thanks, Louise, for that. I knew there was something, Kyle. You actually showed that clip to me of Mike Tyson. There's a clip that Kyle sent me where Mike Tyson is talking about how insulting it is to be called a can of tomato. Now, granted, he's saying a can of tomato, but still the vegetable tomato. I think is the idea, not that it's a can form. He talks about how insulting it is to be called a tomato.
If my mentor called you a tomato can, that's worse than calling you a nigger. That shit's some bad stuff in boxing. If somebody, listen, the way I grew up, my trainer, he born in 1908. There's nothing worse than a tomato can to him. If he calls you a tomato can, he has no respect for you, your life, your mother. I don't know why. I don't know what the reason is, because the tomato can won't, boom, you can just push it, you can blow it over, it won't resist nothing. This fucking can, useless.
Mike Tyson's mentor and trainer, Cus D'Amato, who is a legend in the boxing community, who's well respected. And if Cus called you a tomato or a tomato can, that was pretty bad. Cus was definitely used as inspiration for Mickey. Like the angel on your shoulder thing, that's a Cus D'Amato thing.
Oh.
There's a lot of that. We all know Stallone draws from real life inspiration. There's a fine line between playing homage and ripping off. I think he dances that line a little bit, but
he shucks and jives and he slips the jab a little when it comes to real life. Yeah, I know.
But as soon as I was scrolling through TikToks or YouTube shorts, and I came across that just out of the blue. I shouldn't say that because the algorithm knows what I like and what I don't, but I was like, holy shit, I got to share this.
That's awesome.
So he's like explaining that it's worse than the N-word to be called that, because essentially you don't care. There's literally zero cares or respect with the tomato can. You just can kick it down the curb. The N-word, there's like passion behind it so that you actually care. So that was kind of how Mike Tyson talked about it. And I had never heard that before. It must be a thing.
Okay.
You see that thing about Tyson on the airplane? He beat up that drunk kid.
I love
Yeah.
it. Love it.
Coming.
Oh,
I love it too. Yeah.
And what's great is Tyson never got criminally charged. There's no jury in the world that would charge him. The video's proof that he got antagonized. And Tyson's like, oh my gosh. And just no one's like, yeah.
Tyson even offered him magic mushrooms to calm down, which is hilarious. He's like, yeah, I got these illegal drugs on the airplane. Do you want to take some drugs with me to calm down?
All right, so now Rocky's accosted little Marie, and let's hear their conversation here.
Hey, you know, when I was your age, there was only one girl in the whole neighborhood that talked like that. You know what I mean? That was it, just one. What are you doing? Well, I'll make your teeth yellow. Don't do that.
I like yellow teeth.
Here, you see that Hertz truck in the background there? That's actually a film crew truck.
Oh.
Yeah, they didn't.
Tidbit.
Nice little nugget.
Yeah, they didn't. They just didn't move it.
Is there anything that you guys notice or would comment on about them walking, specifically her?
She almost seems like masculine.
Yeah, she walks. There's a very distinct way of walking.
Like a swagger, or I got
Almost
kind of
like
tough guy walk.
A very wide stance. There's a word for it. It's just like I shouldn't say it, but
just say it.
She like walks like she's got a stick up her.
Oh.
Not even really bending her knees. I don't know. I've always thought that she has a weird way of walking. It's mean of me.
I felt like she walks like a guy. That's my take, at least.
Yeah, I mean, back then they'd call it a tomboy, right?
Yeah, she certainly does have a tomboy vibe. She's dressed very much like that. Yeah.
But that's where Rocky's going to come in with some wisdom, hanging out with those coconuts.
Well, it's interesting, too. Rocky was saying, like, when he was 12, there was only one girl in the neighborhood that talked like that. Okay, going back to when Rocky's 12, that would be 1958, is it? Or was he born in 46?
That sounds about right.
I always think of the 50s as more of a wholesome time, or at least it appeared to be as such. You don't know what goes on behind closed doors. It was very much had the outward appearance of being a wholesome time. So to me, I would say in the 1950s, if a girl's talking like that, it would be quite unusual.
Probably.
Whereas in the late 70s, not so much.
I wonder who that one girl was. What's her story?
Maybe she's the first woman that Polly set her up with. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It could have been the pregnant. Yeah, maybe, but I think it's a little bit younger. This is when I was your age, right? So I don't think Rocky was set up then with a pregnant 12-year-old.
I know. I meant like
she
to be the same
eventually
girl.
became pregnant.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
That's true, too. But I have a theory. It was Gloria. Gloria was the one that...
Oh, my God. That's hilarious.
Yeah, she just has to, like, low-key roast Gloria.
I see the 50s in the suburbs as being this perfect little, like, white picket fenciness. But I would imagine in a neighborhood like this, it would be like beatniks or greasers or, I don't know. I feel like I've only heard that in movies. But
no, there was not an easy time like that. No, I mean, this is back when you could literally hit your wife across her face at the supper table and no one bats an eye. I mean, that was kind of those days where there was very little policing of abuse in the home. And so there was probably a lot of reason why these kids hung out outside their houses and stuff. The physical abuse was rampant. We talk about the good old days, but I would argue even today that I think parents are better now than they were 50 years ago.
Way better.
Yeah.
Way better. In my mind, no question. I hear stories from my grandma from like the 30s, and it was just unreal. But anyway, I don't know. The 50s would have been a better time in this part of the city than the 70s.
Oh, that's true. That's a good point.
When you mentioned the suburbs, that's kind of why, actually, is because like once everyone started having cars and could commute into the city, people with good jobs moved out of the city. And they commuted into work, and their tax dollars stayed in the suburbs and not in the city. And so the cities kind of decay as a result. The city probably was much nicer when Rocky was a kid than what it is now.
Good point.
A couple of comments from Discord. Louise says that little Marie was a tough broad. She had to be hanging out in the corners with those street toughs. And then Donald also said Rocco is smart. That's the author, of course, of the Rocky trivia book. He says Rocco is smart. He's writing books, and he's not hanging out with coconuts on the corner.
Yeah, that's so true.
So that's great.
Well, listen, you 12-year-olds, if you want to be cool, You want to make something of yourself, hang out with Rocco or kids like Rocco.
The people in Discord are also asking Rocco to do a Stop or My Mom Will Shoot trivia book. No, do not.
I don't remember that movie at all, like in terms of if you quizzed me on it. I remember really liking it as a kid.
Same.
Like I was really young when it came out.
I understand.
Mm-hmm.
So if I watched it now, I'd probably be like, oh my God.
Come on, nobody likes garbage. Anyway, this girl with the dirty mouth, she wasn't bad looking, but you see, none of the guys ever took her serious, you see? They never took her out for any serious date.
Why?
Because that's the way guys are. They laugh when you talk dirty, they think you're cute. But after a while, you get a reputation, that's it. You get no respect, you understand? You get no respect.
I love that green car. I never noticed that before. It stands out because everything is so dark, and then there's this like lime green. I don't know, what is that?
That's a good
Chevelle?
question. Do you know what kind of car that is, Kyle?
Oh, I'm the worst.
Okay, me too.
The worst when
So-
it comes to like car makes and models.
I'm going to put that on Reddit. I use this all the time for Reddit. I'm going to say what kind of car is that. I would love to know, unless someone else in our
You
chat
get
knows.
someone tell you exactly like, what year that car came out or whatever.
Yeah, I'm going to say it's a
There's feel so good about it.
Chevrolet something, like
Okay.
Charger, Challenger, Camaro, in that vein. It's Chevrolet, I believe.
I'm going to go with.
That's my guess.
I'm going to go with Plymouth. A Plymouth something.
Okay.
The first car I ever drove was a Plymouth Sundance.
Oh yeah, I remember those. That's hilarious. Now, speaking of,
One of my best friends had one.
we're not going to get to the scene, I don't think, in today's discussion, which is fine. But there's a scene later on when Rocky's talking to Gazzo. Well, I'll just say it, and you can go look at it, where Rocky has a feather in his hat, and I've never seen it before. And
Is it this one?
yeah, this film, and like when you
Here,
talk.
I'm excited for that. 'Cause
I
don't
saw
remember
it
that at
today
all.
watching it. I'm like, I have never seen that. And I felt like it was a Mandela effect moment. Whereas, like, has anyone noticed the feather in his hat? There's a feather, a green, almost peacock looking feather in Rocky's hat. I would challenge every listener of this podcast to be honest with themselves. Have they ever noticed the feather in Rocky's cap? Anyone in our Discord disagree, or have they noticed the feather? So anyways, there's a feather in Rocky's hat, and I don't know if this is a Mandela effect, but it freaked me out. I was like looking at it, I'm like, when did this appear? I've never seen a feather in his hat. So there's a green feather in Rocky's hat.
Before we continue, I wouldn't mind just kind of getting your guys' opinion on what's been said so far.
Of course, that's why we're doing this.
He's talking to Marie, and he's saying that guys like it when you talk dirty,
Right.
and they think you're cute. Then after a while, you get the reputation of being a slut or whatever.
You got to give us warning when you want to use a bad word.
Or, yeah, I'm gonna use it. They don't take you seriously. I guess they see you as someone that you're easy, that you could use, but you don't actually want to have a relationship with them. What do you guys think about that? You think there's truth to that, or you think he's just kind of sexist, or what?
I think it's true.
I think there's some truth to it, but I agree with Rocky's old school thinking, and I kind of agree with it. When a girl acts crude, it's not as funny or as appealing when a guy guys shouldn't do it either. But I guess I know what Rocky's saying here. It's just we laugh with it's kind of funny. I see the other guys laugh at her quote unquote humor, but I know for a fact that when she's not around, they don't find it appealing. So I've seen it live. I've seen it in real time.
And I guess it's a difference between what the way things should be versus the way things are.
Yeah.
You can make the argument that it is unfair that guys can be crude like that and that men can talk that way. Then when women do it, they're unappealing. I think there's a valid argument that you can make that there is some sexism there or misogyny. But on the other hand, recognizing that notwithstanding that is the way people view things, right or wrong.
It's just something I've experienced. Men don't sit around and say, let's discuss how we should view women. It just sort of happens.
The way things maybe should be versus the way things actually are. And the way things actually are, right or wrong, that is generally the kind of reaction you'll get from men if you're like that.
How very nice of you to bring this up. And I won't be soapboxy, but I will say, yes, it is true. I think that what Rocky is saying, there's very much truth to that. But it very much is sexist. We put in these gender roles. I'm not saying it's okay, but society or whomever, it's like boys will be boys. They can be irresponsible and be crude and do this and that. And boys will be boys, but it's not ladylike. Women, that's not their place. We have to be a certain way. And I mean, it even comes up with sexual assault. It's always always what women should do to change. It's never placed on what men should do to be more X, Y, or Z. The discussion is almost always how women should be different. To bring it back to Rocky, this was in the 70s, and he's right. He's actually, to your point, Kyle, like rightly or wrongly, that's the world that we live in.
He's just trying to help her too.
Yeah. If you don't want to end up with a reputation like that, don't smoke, don't talk trashy like that, blah, blah.
Yeah, don't end up like Gloria.
And I think in actuality, too, though, he's talking to a 12-year-old where it's, oh, you'll get a reputation if you talk this way. You more get a reputation if you actually do something. If you actually sleep with one of these kids. I hate to say this on a 12-year-old because that's far too young to be doing anything like that. You do something with one of these guys on the corner, that's when you're going to really get the reputation. And that's when those guys who want an easy score are going to start circling like vultures.
If she's already there, she's sort of being primed for that. Yeah. Right now, she's just talking like the guys. And in a couple of years, she's on her way to getting the reputation. They don't think of her as a serious object of affection right now.
I got to use a bad word. Whore. You understand? Whore. See, you use dirty words and maybe you end up becoming a whore.
You use dirty words, you end up becoming a whore.
That's some causation.
Yeah. But that escalated quickly. You know, little Maurice swears, and now she's like the town whore.
Yeah, and that's kind of an unfair thing too, because this is an old adage, of course. If you're a dude sleeping with tons of chicks, you're the man.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you're a woman and you're being with a bunch of guys, then you're a slut or you're a whore. Yeah. You know, that's not fair. I knew guys, like in my 20s, people talk about their so-called body counts. Okay? If your body count was 1 or 2, something like that,
right,
you wouldn't say that. You'd be reticent to say that. There are guys whose body counts are like 10 or 15 or something like that or more. They would make a point of telling you that. So they're not necessarily high-fiving each other over it, but it's like, it's the big dick in the locker room, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you're in the locker room and you have that, you kind of show everybody what you got there.
Well, we might explain why I changed in the toilet stall. But
yeah. It's funny, though. Did you guys ever watch the show Friends?
Oh, yeah. I've seen it.
It's a common trope, right? A guy doesn't want to be with a woman who's been with a lot of guys. That's like just kind of a known thing. Accepted or expected almost that men have been. But remember when Monica was dating Richard? And I mean, he's like 20 years older than her. So he was, I don't know, his 50s or something. And he was married for most of his life. So he's only been with 2 people.
Yeah.
So she doesn't want to say how many she's been. And he's like, come on, just a ballpark. And she's like, definitely less than a ballpark. You guys remember that?
Yeah, I remember that episode.
Yeah, great. There's an old adage, if whatever number a girl says she slept with, multiply it by 3, and for a man, divide it by 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Sorry, Rocco, in our chat here.
He's,
I know.
Rocco, he knows.
He knows.
He has access to the internet. That's all I'm saying.
So I love how little Marie says here, come on, Rocky, I'm 12.
Yeah. This stuck out to me even when I was younger watching this. Yeah. You got a boyfriend? You ain't got a boyfriend.
I'm 12. But again, it's common. I'm sure Rocco has friends or classmates that have quote-unquote boyfriend, girlfriends at 12. Absolutely.
Well, you remember the junior high school times with relationships and stuff like that.
Yeah.
12's maybe early, but 13, 14, the junior high relationship has a lifespan of approximately 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Hey, that don't matter you're 12. It don't matter. You don't really have to be one. You just act like one and that's it. Boom. Hey, you get a bad rep. You understand? 20 years from now, people are going to say, hey, you remember Marie? No, who's she? She's a little whore that hung down the Atomic Hoagie shop. Oh, yeah. Now I remember her. That
is mentioned in Rocky V. When they were walking, they're talking about the urban blight, how the neighborhoods really go downhill. And Rocky's talking about the Atomic Hoagie shop used to be here. And I love that. I love when you make a reference to an older movie and kind of bring things together.
They don't remember you. They remember the rep. You understand? Hey, you got a boyfriend? No, you ain't got a boyfriend. You know why? Why don't you think you have a boyfriend? Because you're hanging out with them coconuts in the corner. You understand? You hang out with them coconuts, you get nowhere. They're lemons. Lemon. You hang out with nice people, you get nice friends. You understand? You hang out with smart people, you get smart friends. You hang out with yo-yo people, you get yo-yo friends.
Well, it's the old adage, birds of a feather flock together. Sure.
I wonder if his dog is barking. I would love to be the person who's like, that's my dog barking in the Rocky movie.
That's probably, yeah, you're right. That probably was an ADR putting the dog in. That was probably just a dog the neighbor.
A real,
barking.
yeah.
Good
I
point.
wonder if it was just butt kiss, him barking, and they
Yeah,
added
it
that
could have
in.
been, because it's Stallone's dog off to the side, and maybe he's just barking at Stallone walking by, yeah.
I think Rocky's advice here is pretty solid, though. You do, to a degree, emulate the people you hang out with. People have an influence on you. So if you hang out with these schmucks, you're likely going to be drinking Thunderbird and not making something of yourself. So I know I sound like an old man now. But.
No. That's what Rocky says here. You see, it's simple mathematics. There you go.
It's cause and effect.
That's right. And it's true. You kind of are, who your friends are to a certain degree. Like, obviously. And that, yeah, that makes sense. Totally makes sense.
Simple mathematics. I hope you ain't gonna, what was I gonna say?
You hope I don't keep acting like a whore. I'll turn into one, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Night, Rocky.
Good night, Marie. Take care,
Hey, Rocky.
Yo.
Screw you, creepo.
Yeah, who are you to give advice, creepo? Who are you?
And right there is the lowest point of him in the film, I think. I think we're talking about that last episode, Katie, where this kind of ties up whatever Act 1 or this whole idea of... Because the next scene is, of course, Apollo in the office, what have you. Yeah, this is the lowest point of Rocky in the film, I would say, in the sense of, like, we've seen this whole journey, half hour into the film, from his boxing to his time at the bar, to Paulie, Adrian, to trying to get at the girl. I mean, all this, and then now he's just been told by a 12-year-old kid to screw off because you're a creep. Like, this is bottom-of-the-barrel emotional state for Rocky right now.
Yeah, I think the music's really good. It just, that certain music. I mean, I'm just nostalgic about it. It's very well done, really well timed there.
They're really good at bringing our emotions out because I'm almost in tears whenever I watch the scene. The last however many minutes, he's like trying to help her, and then she's like, "Fuck you, Rocky," and then he's like, oh. I just found this to be so sad, and I feel sorry for him.
Well, he says, "Yeah, who are you to give advice, creepo?" And that he's absolutely feeling sorry for himself, as he should be, but understandably so. All right, here we go. I love how he shadow boxes with that post there still, And now we're in Jurgen's office here. In real life, though, this was Irwin Winkler's office.
Oh, really?
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it was the producer's office.
I just think it's such a stark contrast from... So now we're entering like the second act, but it's so dark and gloomy. And then all of a sudden it's like so bright and energetic, just so stark.
Absolutely agree.
As well.
Absolutely agree. Yeah, there's total changes. It's a total mood, lighting change, and energy change too. Now we've got this very energetic, educated, business-like conversation. This is,
Are the doctor's reports confirmed?
Definitely. Says here Mackley Green has suffered a severely cracked third metacarpal in his left hand.
There you go. We got the answer to one of our trivia questions. Good timing. Did you guys?
That's what I put. Yeah.
Did you put that, Katie?
No, my brain is not working at full capacity this morning. Was it Buddy something? I couldn't remember who it was.
That was Buddy Shaw. How he's ranked?
Yeah.
Buddy Shaw. He's ranked 5th.
That's right.
Oh yeah, I knew there was a Buddy in there. So no, I didn't get that one right.
That
Did you?
Yeah, I got that one. Yeah, Mackley Green. There you go. So that was the answer to one of the questions. Okay. Good timing.
One thing I like about this scene, Apollo, his crew with him are all black. His manager, his lawyer, especially for this time. I like that black people in film are being shown as they should be, as smart, capable, educated people, instead of just athletes or like just musicians or whatever, right? To me, this scene is like progressive in a cool and not a preachy way.
Carry a leather briefcase. Be a thinker, not a stinker.
Even at this time, there's a lot of black exploitation films. At the time, in the 70s, were very common. Almost because it was like a subgenre, because they weren't quite allowed to be the main stars in Hollywood at the time. And in fact, Carl Weathers' first 4 films, or 3 or 4 films before being cast in Rocky, he was in those films. Those were the films he was in. Carl Weathers was in these Pam Grier type
exploitation.
Yeah, type films.
Exploitation.
Yeah, that was a genre. because they're black people. So only black people are going to watch these films, and black people are going to act in these films. So Sly, to his credit, this wasn't common to have a main character and a lot of big speaking parts in quote unquote in a white film. So we love it. Yeah. And the character, like you're saying, Kyle, the smartest guy on the screen, Apollo.
Apollo's lawyer here, the guy sitting at the table, he could have been a white guy.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
There's this guy in the background. He doesn't really do anything, but he appears to be a smart, well-to-do person, also black. Apollo's manager, Tony, who's given Jurgens some shit here.
Yeah.
He's black. The whole entourage.
You know who that bodyguard? You see that guy looking out the window there? He's looking out the window to make sure Apollo's safe because he's the bodyguard.
Is he really?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And you know who that is? Famous actor.
No, I don't.
Michael Dorn, who plays Worf on Star Trek.
No.
Yep.
No way.
It's Michael Dorn.
I would have never guessed that.
But anyways, so watch when we hit play here again. You'll see that's Michael. It's hard to tell that's him because you're so used to seeing him in the makeup. But that is Michael Dorn there holding the toothpick in his mouth. He's got sunglasses on. It's actually Apollo's bodyguard is what he's credited as.
Nice.
Of course, we can cancel the fight indefinitely if you're set on fighting Green.
Hey, it ain't just Green. Now, what about all the time Apollo is invested?
I believe we can find a solution.
Solution, nothing. Now, you better find me another ranked contender, and I mean in a flash, Jurgens.
Don't play games with my client. Apollo's already done $1 million worth of publicity, has made contractual obligations with 20 different organizations. He's not going to be embarrassed.
I contacted Ernie Roman's manager. Ernie's fighting in France that same week.
And get me Buddy Shaw. Hell, he's ranked 5th.
There you go, Buddy Shaw. I haven't read ahead of the trivia questions, but that would be a great trivia question, Rocco. So I don't know if he got that one, because he's got 50 questions or whatever for this film. So what did Buddy Shaw rank? We'll find out later.
Or was he the one
how much
who,
weight did that guy gain in California?
Yeah. Also, you have it paused perfectly on this contrast, too. I could not love Tony's outfit more. I mean, so Apollo has got a 3-piece suit. I love his pink shirt with the colorful. Apollo looks stunning in this outfit. And all the other men have like a 3-piece suit on. Tony, on the other hand, has like a leisure suit with the chain, his chest showing like the button almost down to his navel. It's amazing. I love it. And it's colorful.
It's awesome.
Ugh.
And that's the thing. They can I can't pull off anything. I feel like the only reason why I wear clothes is because nobody wants to see me naked. Because I feel like everything I wear, I just don't look good though. I see other actors and stuff in films or whatever, and I'm like, why do they just? I know they have wardrobe people, but still, like, they just look good. Anyway, so yeah, Tony just pulls that off. Like, he gets away. Like, if I wore that the same way, I would look ridiculous. I would look like I'm making fun of something. You know what I mean? But he pulls it out. He looks sexy. He looks amazing. Just a stud.
He does look sexy. Yeah. I mean, and what do you call it was such a style in the 70s with that collar style. Big winged out collar. Yeah. Oh God.
Even a collar's gigantic. It's done up, so it's not coming out as much.
That's true. That's a good point.
And his tie and his collar are huge.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. And Tony is the unsung hero of the franchise. He's just awesome.
I think I've mentioned this in the past, but there's a movie based off the original Scared Straight that came out. Tony is a convict in... he's talking to the kids, and he does a real good job. This guy's actually done real prison time in, like, the 50s, too. He's a bit of a badass.
He is. He's awesome.
I do remember you saying that he did do some time. Yeah. Okay.
Went to California and gained 50.
Oh, he went to California and gained 50 pounds.
It was Buddy who, yeah, I thought so. Buddy Shaw gained 50.
No. He mentioned someone else.
Oh, okay.
Are you sure?
You can go back, but...
You can cancel the fight indefinitely if you're set on fighting Green.
Hey, it ain't just Green. Now, what about all the time Apollo is invested?
I believe we can find a solution.
Solution, nothing. Now, you better find me another ranked contender, and I mean in a...
Don't play games with my client. Apollo's already done $1 million worth of publicity, has made contractual obligations with 20 different organizations. He's not going to be embarrassed.
I contacted Ernie Roman's manager. Ernie's fighting in France that same week.
And get me Buddy Shaw. Hell, he's ranked 5th.
Went to California and gained 50 pounds.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah, that's fine. So Jurgens has already called every worthwhile contender. So I love that. I love how they've, he's gone through the books, tried to find a contender, hasn't found anybody. So now Paul's mind will start spinning here.
I get hold of every worthwhile contender, and they all say the same thing. 5 weeks just isn't enough time to get into shape.
Oh, shape nothing, man. They're afraid.
I just love that. Shape nothing, man. They're afraid. I love the way he delivers that.
His incantation, he says he uses that same phrase a lot, and it's perfect for him.
There's probably a bit of both, though. There probably isn't enough time, and they are probably afraid, because remember, he is the greatest fighter that ever lived. Like, he is the best. He was a combination of, like, the strength of Tyson with the finesse of Ali. Like, this guy was a beast. Apollo was the best. And nobody wants to be embarrassed.
5 weeks is nothing, even if you're already pseudo in shape.
A camp, like a training camp, I think 6 weeks, 7 weeks is about as long as you'll take, but you have to be in fairly decent shape before camp. Like, gaining 50 pounds is out of the question. You're not going to be able to lose. You probably could lose 50 pounds in 5 or 6 weeks, but probably at the expense of your other physical conditioning. I do think it is more they're afraid to fight him. And especially on a big event like this, the bicentennial, everybody is going to be watching this. It's a big deal. You'll be known as the guy who got trounced. And again, you're getting trounced by Creed, so no one's going to blame you. It's Creed who has everything to lose in this, because if he loses to anybody, especially a Tomato or a Ham and Egger, I have a hard time that you can't find any worthwhile contender. I do find a hard time with that premise that you'd have to go find a club fighter in Philly. Like, you could find somebody, someone who's actually a ranked pro, even if they're not fifth or something like that. And I guess you could say that, well, you either find a high competitive fight or you find a novelty. You don't want to do the halfway by finding a guy who's ranked like 38th or something like that.
Thinking like a thinker, not a stinker there, Kyle.
Everybody in the world's going to see this fight, and none of them got a prayer whipping me. So they're making excuses so they don't have to be the chump to get whipped in front of the whole civilized world.
There you go. So I love Jurgen's response here. So Apollo's basically saying, nobody wants to fight me. It's not enough time. They're going to be embarrassed. They know this is a big fight. They don't want to be embarrassed on national television, worldwide, what have you. But Jurgens takes this very personally. He goes, all I can say is that I'm a good promoter.
I have to say, too, Jurgens is the most British-seeming guy who's not British.
Yeah. Very old school promoter.
This guy looks like he's old school British dude.
He's like a caricature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And say is I'm a good promoter. I've promoted fights in every goddamn country in the world, and I've broken my ass over this. But I don't know what the hell else to do.
I love how he's promoted fights in every country in the world. There's a lot of countries. You might be exaggerating, Jurgen. But I love how Apollo weighs him off with that. He's like, yeah, I don't want to hear this. You know, I want to.
Well, also, Jurgen starts with, like, I believe I could find a solution. They go through 3 names. He's like, I don't know what to do.
Give me a 4th name. Give me a 5th name. I've called 3 people. What else can I do? So now Paul's his head spinning. But look at Tony here looking at Jurgens. Look at that look.
He's like a hype man for Apollo, too. Like, do you notice how his reactions to Apollo in every way?
He's a total hype. In fact, watch this scene here. When Apollo comes up with his idea, watch Tony's face over Apollo's shoulder. He's totally hyping up Apollo's idea. It's almost like Tony in real life is laughing at Apollo's acting, or Carl's performance. Not laughing at, but kind of being enthused by Carl Weathers' delivery. You tell me, with Tony Burton in real life, is he reacting to Carl Weathers, or is he acting to Apollo? You let me know when.
I do. Without a ranked contender, what this fight is going to need is a novelty. This is the land of opportunity, right? So Apollo Creed on January 1st gives a local underdog fighter an opportunity. A Snow White underdog, and I'm going to put his face on this poster with me. And I'll tell you why. Because I'm sentimental. And a lot of other people in this country are just as sentimental, and there's nothing they'd like better than to see Apollo Creed give a local Philadelphia boy a shot at the greatest title in the world on this country's biggest birthday. Now, that's the way I see it. And that's the way it's going to be.
Apollo, I like it. It's very American.
No, Jurgens. It's very smart.
Great monologue, great delivery by Carl Weathers. But did you see Tony's face in the background? Was he acting or was he reacting?
I think he was acting.
He's just got that $1 million smile.
He was smiling too much. Like, it was unrealistic.
That's what I mean. Like, it was a big smile. So I couldn't tell if he was, but he was right over Paul's shoulder. So he almost knew, like, I'm going to be on camera for this scene. So maybe he was like, yeah. It's me. I'm in the background. I'm in the background. Yeah. Anyways,
it took like 40 takes to do that scene, and he's happy that Apollo didn't f*** his line up.
Yeah, but
Jurgens laugh.
Oh yeah. I love it.
It was like, ha 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 ha. It's such a I don't know. It's like he's not a real person.
But great writing by Sly here too, and this is a great monologue that Sly wrote for Apollo with the idea. I love how it's like, I'm sentimental, America loves sentimental. They love that idea, and this is the whole genesis of this film. The idea being that we're going to how does this Rocky care? How does he get the fight? How does this happen? How do these two people meet? This is it. This is how they meet, is that Apollo comes up with the idea, I need a angle. I need some sort of angle. We've lost the fighters that were supposed to fight me. No one's worthy. And so let's get an underdog fighter, a local boy, so they don't have to go anywhere. They don't have to travel. We're right here already. The fight's in 5 weeks from here, so they're already training somewhere, fighting somewhere. How they get the name later is fun, but right now that's the idea. And I love, again, Sly's writing of the idea where Jurgen says, well, that's very American of you, Apollo. That's very American of you. And the twist that Apollo says, no, it's very smart. And what a great delivery. And then what a great line by Sly to write that.
I always thought that was weird. I always thought he was like saying American equals not smart. Like,
well, I think it's not that it's not smart, but I think it's beyond American.
Yeah. I love that. Honestly, that's probably one of the best ideas for this film. Really, it's one of this in the discussion with Adrian in the apartment before the fight, two best written scenes in the film. As much as Stallone is homage or rips off stuff from real life, I think this idea here is, as far as I could tell, a truly original, excellent idea for a fight. I love that. The fight itself is the Chuck Wempner fight, but Chuck Wempner was a ranked contender. He wasn't that good of a fighter, but there are guys who get shots at the championships who are not super well ranked. Chuck Wempner was not a novelty.
Chuck Wempner he was buddy. He was buddy. He gained 50 pounds. He was buddy.
Yeah, basically. This idea that you want a novelty on this bicentennial holiday, excellent idea. Like that, it's a truly original, good, solid piece of writing.
Yes, he got the genesis idea of that Muhammad Ali Chuck Wempner fight, but the character of Rocky and who he is and what he's like, how would even Sly know what Chuck's like outside the ring anyways?
There is a little bit of similarities in that, like, they were both petty criminals.
But I mean, like, the way they are, their personalities.
Yeah. I've heard Chuck Wempner interviews. Like, I've heard his interview talking about the fight and other fights he was in. I'll say he's a typical 70s guy. He's not like Rocky at all, personality-wise.
All right, well, ready for the answers?
Yeah, let's do it. I did write mine down. So
me too.
All right, number one, who says you want the bird, go out in the alley and eat the bird?
Clearly Adrian.
Clearly Adrian, yeah, Adrian.
Polly Panino.
Polly was cooking the bird and Adrian threw it out in the alley. Yeah, that's right. All right, so what does Rocky answer back when Adrian asks him why he wants to fight? The answer is, because I can't sing or dance. Okay, we all got that.
All
right, number three. What is the name of the fighter who broke his hand and dropped out of the fight with Creed? Well, we just saw that scene. Good timing. Katie said Buddy. Close. But it was Mac Lee Green. Sorry.
And you also hear it on the TV in the bar, too.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, I understand, Katie. You had a rough night last night. Trust me, there's one's coming up where I will not know the answer. I'm telling you right now. Number four, who does Rocky work for? Mr. Gazzo. That's right, Mr. Gazzo.
It could be a trick question. Rocky's self-employed.
Yeah. But I don't think Rocco was going with the trick question. And lastly, number five, what round did Rocky knock Apollo down?
The first round.
What did you say, Katie?
Was it the first round?
Yeah.
Yes.
My brain doesn't work. I have 13.
And I want to make this clear. This is not too embarrassing. We are just a Rocky podcast. We're not Rocky. This trivia book, I'm telling you right now, guys, I've seen some of the questions. I'll be surprised if we get half of these. Rocco,
really?
Yeah, well, yeah, he asked 50 questions alone just for the first film.
Okay.
I could do better than half, I bet.
Right.
I think I could too, but not today. Well, I did.
I got 5 out of 5 on this round, but he's probably just warming us up here.
Do you want to keep track there, Kyle? So I did 5 as well. Do you want to keep our score? So I got 5. Katie got 3.
I'll catch up next week.
And our invitation to our listeners at home at the end of season 1 of Rocky, it's going to be, a journey, but that's what we're here for. Let us know your scores at the end of the season. And it's an honor system, of course. And I believe all our listeners are honest. So if we as hosts are honest.
Every single listener is honest here.
Yeah, I think
that's
so. Yeah, there you go. That's fun.
Any production type of stuff. It was where, Ryan, you always get me on I never knew Michael Dorn there, the Hertz truck, or anything like that. If you go outside the actual script itself, that's when I start losing pretty quickly.
So Donald actually got the number 5 wrong as well, Katie. Donald, what number did you say? What round did you think it was? And for the spelling of Mac Lee Green, it's actually Mac is his first name, Lee is his middle name, and Green is his last name. All right, this was a fun episode. I was glad to have you guys all back, roll back together for this one. Well, that's the end of the episode.
Ain't hear no bell.
I just want to say one thing.